What's up, everybody? It's Thunder Bob here, and tonight I am checking out Hogwarts Legacy, running on my Steam Deck. I've put a few hours into this game. I've mostly been playing on my high-end PC in ultra-wide. I'll have a video showing like the first 90 minutes or so running in ultra-wide, but I've also been playing around on the Steam Deck, trying to get this to run as well as possible. It's a little rough around the edges. I'm going to go through the settings I'm using and kind of the best practice I've found. I do think that this game is going to need some patching on Valve or the developers' side. There is some stuttering, maybe some shader caching that's not happening yet. I don't know if they've got that patched at the moment, but let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the settings I'm running. Okay, so we're going to go in and look at the resolution and graphic settings. I found that running AMD FSR 2 produces a better picture. You get the option of using 1, 2, or DLSS, of course, if you're running on a PC with NVIDIA hardware. One thing I do like here is they show you the target resolution and the render resolution. The render resolution basically being the default resolution used and then upscaled to produce the render resolution. So you can see here you get different options, and it's kind of cool. You can actually click on this and it'll show you live what that render resolution is at the different levels. Not a lot of games do that. I can think of like Control did the same thing. I've left these other settings down below just on. Those are really kind of your choice. I'll probably adjust them depending on the quality of the setting. I've also set it to 60 FPS just so I can see without a limit on it what kind of performance I can get. I would probably set this to 40 refresh rate and 40 frame limit in the game scope here eventually, but at the moment I'm setting it to 60 really just to see the performance here in actual gameplay. And as for the settings, I would just leave them at the low preset. I've tried low, medium, high. There's a pretty substantial difference between low and high, and the quality of the graphics on such a small screen really isn't that different between the two settings for the amount of performance drop that you get. And I wanted to demonstrate, you'll notice as I go at this door, I'm going from like 40 FPS and it drops to like 10 to 15. I'll frequently get like good performance, and then I open a doorway, go through into another area, especially in Hogwarts Castle, and suddenly the performance dips for a few seconds. I also find this on the PC, where I'll be getting sometimes 130, 140 FPS. I'll open a door and go through it, and it'll drop down to something like 60, 70 FPS. We're talking about like a 50 to 75% drop. And then if I wait in that room for just a couple of seconds, performance does increase again. But it is pretty frequent occurrence and kind of annoying. And here is the low settings with the full benchmark shown. And I do notice if you look at the VRAM and the RAM usage, it's above 16 gigs, and I'm kind of wondering if it might be going into the swap memory. Maybe that's what's causing some of these performance hits, because the Steam Deck only has 16 gigabytes of shared memory. So it's definitely going to require more of a deep dive, but at a glance, I'm kind of curious if you might be hitting upper limits on the RAM on the system. But you'll notice there are times where I get, 40, 50, 60 FPS, and then it suddenly dips down when I enter that new area. So I think it is definitely playable, but whatever's causing this stutter when you enter a new area is definitely kind of hindering of a smooth performance. And that may get fixed if this is related to shader caching. I know Dead Space was patched shortly after release and definitely improved some of the stuttering that was happening on the Steam Deck to make it a more enjoyable experience. You can see right here I'm getting 50, 60 FPS, so definitely after it loads for a few seconds, it definitely becomes a lot more playable. And when you're in like the open outdoor areas and you're kind of just going around, it seems a lot more stable to me than in the castle. I haven't actually got to fly around yet. I'm only like 2 hours into the game, and I'm curious when I do start flying around if it's going to be running into those RAM limitations as well. But it definitely seems playable. I wouldn't say it is a perfect experience, but I'm enjoying it. I may end up actually streaming it from my computer to the Steam Deck if the stuttering does not get resolved. but I think it's generally played, but do anticipate some possible uh, stuttering, hanging, that sort of thing, which I have a feeling will probably be improved in the coming days, either by Valve or by the developer. The controls work perfectly out of the box. Actually, I think this game controls better with a controller than with mouse and keyboard, and even when I was playing on the computer, I was using a controller. So I think it works quite well with the Steam Deck. There's no configuration or setup required for the controls. And I did want to demonstrate just briefly, I set everything to high. The resolution I left the same with FSR 2 running at the quality setting. So this is what you can expect if you set it to high. And it really just feels less smooth. I can get it to about 30, but it doesn't go much over that. And it just cycling the picture around, it's a lot more stuttery, even discounting like going into a new area. It's just overall, it's just running, uh, more poorly here. Let me expand this. I do have the cryo fixes in place, adjusting the swappiness setting and the video RAM and everything, which generally has improved performance in games I've played. I don't know if it's making a big difference here because I haven't benchmarked it before and after. But again, you can see when I kind of when it kind of loads completely, that performance does improve a bit. But this definitely going from low to high, um, a certain amount of loss of performance, and kind of just like it doesn't feel as smooth, if that makes sense. Like I can tell that this is on high, and it's just like even just moving the camera around my character feels a lot more delayed. Yeah, so this is the high setting. I don't think I'll probably leave it here unless I am streaming from my computer, which I may end up doing. I feel like this may actually be a game that I'll run on my computer and then use like the Steam streaming to get better performance on it. And just to show you, this is what it's looking like on the ultrawide um, on my high-end PC, running pretty much everything maxed out except for ray tracing. Um, yeah, it runs really nicely on my PC unless you turn ray tracing on. And I'm going to go into more detail on that 90-minute video for the PC, showing off the beginning of the game, my settings and everything. Um, but yeah, I'm going to end it here. I'm definitely going to keep playing around with this on the Steam Deck and also try out some streaming. And if I find any, silver bullet to make this perform better, any settings or anything, I'll probably do a follow up or I'll drop some comments below. But if you're running this on the Steam Deck and you've got any advice to make this more playable, please do let me know what you're doing. If you've got any thoughts on this, drop me a comment below. And if you like what I'm doing here, please do check out some of my other videos. I've got a ton of Steam Deck coverage. I've got a ton of PC, virtual reality, retro gaming coverage. If you like it, please do think about liking, subscribing. And yeah, just thank you again for watching, everyone. Have a great night.